Now let's create the influencer microservice. So we are inside the backend folder and we'll create the influencer microservice. Now that the project is created, let's go to the folder and install the IDE helper. Now run php artisan IDE generate. Now let's start making changes to the project. Now I open the project and let's start with the migrations. So let's remove the create users and passwords resets table. We need the failed jobs table, and the other migration that we need here are similar to the checkout. So let's copy them and paste them here. The only difference will be the orders table. Now we don't need all this data. We need just the code and the user ID, because the influencer doesn't care about the other fields. Also, for the order items, we don't need the admin revenue, just the influencer revenue. And here we will just call it revenue. So this is the main difference. There is also another difference. For example, now the orders needs to have an assigned big integer ID primary, so not auto increment ID, because the orders are not created here. What is created here are the links, and these are the ones to be auto increment, and also the link products. With that said, these are the migrations that we need, and let's migrate them in the next tutorial. Now let's add the Docker files. I will paste the Docker files from the checkout, and I will rename them. This is influencer. This is influencer DB. And I will paste it here, here, and here. The database also is influencer. The port is 70 in the end, and the port here is 8003. So that's it. It should work. Now let's run it. Docker compose app. Let's wait till it's completed. Now that it's completed, let's go inside Docker compose exec influencer sh. So let's go to our env file here and change the database to influencer, username root and password root. Do a php artisan migrate. So we created the tables now, and now let's add the seeders. For the seeders, let's go to database.php and paste the same old MySQL from the other apps. Go to our env file. Here also paste the same configuration. So the database name is different, but this comes from a different database, so it's all good. And now let's get all the seeders from the checkout. So let's go to the database seeders I will copy all the seeders here, and let's go to the influencer. So the seeders should be all the same except for the order. So we also need the tables, so let's copy them too. The models, sorry. I will copy the models and paste them here. We don't need the user. So the models should all be without errors, except this part. So we don't have admin revenue or influencer revenue. We have just get total attribute here, and here we have just revenue. So we should run PHP artisan IDE models. Then this will look okay. Now about the seeders. So let's make changes for the order seeder and order item seeder. We have just the code and the user ID here. We don't need the other fields. And for the order item, instead of admin revenue, we have just revenue here, and is influencer revenue. So let's run the seeders. PHP artisan db seed. So the seeders worked successfully. Let's see it. So user is root, password root, this is 70, and the database is influencer. Let's check the orders table since it's different. So we can see now the orders table is really small, also for the order items, and we have only revenue here. Now let's import the controllers. First let's remove this checkout controller, we don't need it. And let's copy the controllers from influencer. Go here and paste them. And we need also one more controller, which is out controller. Paste it here also. Now let's make changes. We need the user service. So to get the user service, we need to install composer require Antonio Papa /common. And also we need to add the URL in our env file. So it's users underscore endpoint, which is equal to http localhost port 8001 /API. Now let's go to our controller. So we can remove this for now. We need the user resource. We'll deal with that later. The controller here is this one. So this is models here. Models, user service should be removed. Link created. So let's import user service. It's not ready yet. So we need also link resource. So let's copy the resources. let's go back. So let's go to product controller. This is models here. So this is sold, stats controller, models. Oh, sorry, it should be just controller. We need to add models here. Let's import also the user service, which is not refreshed yet. So the user service, I can import it now. Let's add it to every request, every controller, sorry, and link created. So I will deal with it later. So for now, I will just comment it. So everything looks okay. And let's import now the routes. So let's go to api.php and let's cut these routes. Also remove these controllers. So let's go to api.php here, paste the routes. We don't need this. So we have these controllers, and we need to replace this with Laravel 8 way. So class here, let's import it, and this will call index, and here we need the link controller. Stats controller, and add it here, and let's import them. So the last thing is the scope. So we need to add scope.influencer in our kernel. So let's add it here, and this will call influencer scope, which is imported from our package. Now let's go to out controller. Let's import the user resource, and now the user will be always influencer. So we can remove this stuff and also this stuff. And we can even modify the user resource, so we can return directly here the user resource, and the user resource will have this part, so we'll have the revenue. Let's go back. We can keep this short also. We can keep it even shorter. So new user service, and we can remove also this part. So the out controller becomes this small code. Now the last change is to remove the resources that we don't need. We don't need the chart resource. We need the link resource, order item resource, and order resource. We don't need it. Neither the permission resource. Do we need the product resource?